Hurricanes fans, it's that time of the year again. It's that time to discuss all the players who left, transferred away from the Hurricanes at the beginning of the 2025 season. So, about 2 weeks into this season, I made a video explaining all the players who left, and then I gave like a quick update on how those first couple of games went for those players. Then I did the exact same thing, give you an update about midway through the season or so, just letting you know if they were starting, if they're not really playing, if they transferred a couple of times since they left, if they got kicked off the team. Gave you all those updates as well. So now that the season is officially over, we're in the off season. Now it's time to discuss how their entire season went, and it's also time to give them a letter grade on what I believe. I'm just basically grading their decision-making skills as far as how logical it seemed that their decision-making skills was when they left the Hurricanes. If I give them a letter A, that means it totally made sense for them to leave, and they went to a really good situation. They balled out, and they actually ended up in a better spot than if they would have stayed and played for the Hurricanes. Now, if they get an F, that means I'm thinking, I don't know what the hell y'all had going on in y'all's decision-making process. If you'd have just stuck around and played here, you'd have done so much better than going and transferring at this school and sitting on the bench the entire year and wasting your last year of eligibility. Like, that's an F, all right? Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it real quick. The first person we're going to talk about is Zaquin Patterson. Zaquin Patterson, he's a huge fan favorite. A lot of people started comparing him not to Sean Taylor, not saying he was going to be as good as Sean Taylor, but the way that he played and how big he was, a lot of folks felt like he was on the same comparison chart, let's say. All right. He was a hard hitting safety, about 6 foot, 200 pounds. So, and he could run real fast, accelerated really quickly. I thought that he was going to grow into being a really, really elite player in his sophomore season. He didn't play a whole lot his freshman season, and I cheered for him a whole lot. Every now and again, he got in, and he had opportunities, and he just didn't seize the moment. Let's just say that. Like, one game he got in, he ended up getting completely jumped over. The running back came downhill. Zaquin Patterson met him coming downhill. Zaquin Patterson ducked his head and dove at the player, and the running back just cleared him, jumped over him in one of the most embarrassing moments of the season. So I was honestly pretty shocked when I saw Zaquin Patterson's name get into the transfer portal, mainly because I thought that he would come back, end up being a starter over like Jaden Harris and all those guys ended up disappearing from the Hurricanes after they put what was one of the worst defensive backfields on the Hurricane field that we've ever seen before. So I felt like Zaquin Patterson would come in and be the starter his sophomore season, but he ended up transferring to Oklahoma State. And if you know anything about Oklahoma State this past season, they were trash. They was getting beat by like 50 points in certain games. So it seemed like he should have gone there, been a starter. When he came into the Hurricanes as a prospect, he was a 4-star. When he transferred away from the Hurricanes, he was a 3-star transfer, and he went to Oklahoma State. He didn't even last a few months at Oklahoma State. They kicked him off of the team. They didn't really explain why they kicked him off the team. They just said that they brought in a bunch of players on the transfer portal, like 40 players. And Coach Gundy said that their personalities just didn't match. So he had to weed some people out. And Zaquin Patterson, unfortunately, was one of those people. Well, after he left Oklahoma State, he ended up going to Alabama State, which, what? God bless Alabama State. I just had never heard of them before. If someone would have asked me what their mascot was and had a gun to my head, I would not be here anymore because I could not tell you what their mascot is. So I had never heard of Alabama State. I do believe it's a black college, so God bless them. That's where Zaquin Patterson ended up playing. They don't record stats very well at this school, which is really unfortunate. So it's hard to understand what his numbers really looked like because some games it appeared that he played, but they didn't really record any stats on him, which is weird. Some websites will show that he had 22 tackles throughout the season. Some websites show that he had like 15 tackles throughout the season. It's just all over the place. So can I say that he did exceptionally well for Alabama State. No, I can't because I don't know what kind of numbers he really put up, what the actual numbers are. If I were to give him a grade, though, based on his decision to leave the Hurricanes, the grade that I would give on this, to be honest with you, is incomplete. And I know that's kind of cheating, but the reason why is because I almost feel like in this situation, it probably wasn't his decision to leave. I think he was probably shown the door for one reason or another. I believe that the Hurricanes coaching staff was so embarrassed by what they put on the field, especially in the defensive backfield, that they got rid of everybody who had anything to do with it. That's the defensive coordinator, defensive backs coach, all the defensive players that were back there, except OJ Frederick. Y'all all gotta go. Everybody's gotta go. We're gonna start fresh. That's kind of what it seemed like to me. So giving him a letter grade, I don't think it's really fair to do that. So I'm just gonna say incomplete on Zaquin Patterson. I don't know what his career looks like going forward. I looked to see if he was in the transfer portal this year because I was wondering like maybe he'd try to level up and get back into, a heavy Division I school, but I couldn't find any information on him as far as the transfer portal goes. So I don't know what his situation looks like going forward. But God bless Zaquin Patterson. I was really rooting for the guy. I still am rooting for him. So we'll see how he does going forward. Next person, Jaden Harris. Y'all know the little history that I got with Jaden Harris. No, he's not related to me. No, he's not my cousin. None of that. Some of y'all are like, is that your relative? No, it's not. I still stand. So I made some comments on here about a year and a half ago where I said that I believe Jaden Harris is the worst Miami Hurricanes starter that has ever existed for the Hurricanes. Ever. Offense, defense, special teams, whatever. I still believe he is the worst not the worst defensive player, the worst starter, period, for the Miami Hurricanes in the history of the Hurricanes. I think Jaden Harris is the worst. I made some comments similar to those, and his mom got in the comment section and was pretty upset about it. So I said, I'm not gonna talk about y'all anymore. I'll leave y'all alone. God bless you. I'm not gonna bother you anymore. Won't say anything negative anymore. But then I saw a picture online surface of Jaden Harris throwing the U down. And I can't stand people doing that. I despise people doing that. So since then I said, all right, we back on then. I will continue to I will continue to give my piece on this situation. Like I said earlier, I still believe he is the worst starter for the Miami Hurricanes in the history of the program. And I will continue saying that until somebody proves me otherwise. That's something for the comment section, actually. Let me know if you can think of one person, one starter for the Hurricanes that was worse than Jaden Harris. Let me know who that is, and I would gladly argue that with you. So Jaden Harris came in as a prospect 3-star, ended up leaving as a 3-star transfer. He went to Georgia and played, made an attempt to play for, he wasn't able to play for the Hurricanes in one of the worst defenses in college football. So he figured he would go and play and maybe start for the Georgia Bulldogs, who consistently put on the field one of the best defenses that's in college football almost every season. Makes sense, right? No, it doesn't. So basically, he ended up having 3 tackles on the entire season. He played in 4 games. He played in 4 games, and the games that he played in, they were all blowouts. He played in a game against Kentucky where they won 35-14. Mississippi State, they won 41-21. Texas, they won 35-10. And then I don't even know who that is. Is that Connecticut? No, that's Charlotte. I think that's Charlotte, the 49ers. I think. Anyway, they won 35-3. So the games that he played in, they were all blowouts. And now he's transferred. So he went to Georgia. He's in the locker room throwing the U down because they got to the SEC championship. Yeah, they ended up winning that. So he's in the locker room holding the trophy, throwing the U down and doing all that. And apparently he's going to be talking bad about Georgia next season because he's not going to return to Georgia because they probably told him thanks, but no thanks. And he's going to, where is he going? He's coming to Kansas where I live. So I might end up running into Jaden Harris one of these days. Who knows? But he's playing for the Jayhawks next year, which is crazy to me. He's right down the street from me. So maybe one of these days we can talk about those terrible angles that he consistently takes when he's trying to tackle people. But anyway, God bless Jaden Harris. Hopefully that's the last thing I have to say about him ever again until I'm watching him play next season for the Jayhawks, probably. All right, next player, Riley Williams. A lot of folks, I'm telling y'all, Riley Williams didn't do a whole lot for the Hurricanes as far as his productivity on the field, but Riley Williams will go down in the history of the Miami Hurricanes because he's involved in one of the biggest, craziest plays that we've ever seen for the Hurricanes. And y'all know what that is. We got Cam Ward dropping back, shoving one defender off, ducking under another one, standing up just in time to throw a chest pass to Riley Williams, who catches it, and I almost said ran, but I think the right word is rumbles down to like the 3-yard line or something like that. So he will go down in history in Miami history, because that is one of the craziest, coolest plays I've ever seen. And Riley Williams was part of it. So, and no, I did not give a grade on Jaden Harris leaving, because I don't even care to talk about that anymore. But anyway, let's talk more about Riley Williams, shall we? So he ended up leaving, going to Oregon State. The story behind that was that he wanted to play closer to home because he's from Portland, Oregon State, right there, right? So people were saying he wanted to go closer to home and play there. But it did not work out for dude. Like, he had one catch all season for 15 yards. That is crazy to me. I honestly felt like if he would have stayed and played for the Hurricanes, he would have got way more playing time than that. He would have had way more catches than one for 15 yards. Maybe he did battle some injuries because I did not look into that very much when I did this. So maybe he just had a serious problem with injuries. But man, that just doesn't seem right to me. Because he did have some pretty promising plays when he played for the Hurricanes. He had some pretty promising. It just looked like he could do something for us in the future, especially with the way that our tight ends looked this season. Our tight ends, y'all, I don't know how y'all feel about the way our tight ends played, but I think it was pretty bad this season. Like, the tight end room gets a D from me. They did a poor job this season. So I feel like if Riley Williams would have stayed, the opportunities were there for him to play. So I don't know if he was able to get a big, huge bag. Like, I'm not even considering if they got a big bag to leave. I'm not considering that. So I don't know if he got paid a whole lot to go to Oregon State to play. I don't know that. So I'm throwing that out the window. I also understand that he was going back home to play. So when I give him this letter grade, all of that stuff, as far as like his opportunities to play at the Hurricanes, but also him going back home, I have to put both of those in this situation. So him leaving, I give it a C. And again, the reason why I give it a C is because I think if he would have stayed and played for the Hurricanes, he would have actually helped the Hurricanes. I really think he would have. At the same time, I totally understand leaving a place and going back home to play. I always respect that. So that's why I say a solid C. Now, the move after this really confused me, because if you're leaving the Hurricanes to go back home to play for Oregon State, why all of a sudden are you back in the transfer portal and now you're playing for Mississippi State? That's where he committed to. So next season he'll be at Mississippi State. Hey, I don't know. You explain to me. I don't get it either. So he'll have one more season to prove what he's got. He'll be a senior this coming year, and that'll be the end for him as far as college football goes. So hopefully he can go to Mississippi State, put some real good stuff on film, and get an opportunity for the NFL. But it does not look likely. Moving on to the next. Isaiah Horton. I told y'all from the jump, when I saw his name in the transfer portal, I was totally shocked. I mean, like, not surprised, not disappointed. I was shocked and pissed off. Like, what is this about? Mainly because his first couple of years for the Hurricanes, I'm looking at this dude, I'm like, who is that? Didn't think much of him. I'm sorry, the first year I didn't think much of him. Then he comes back out for the Hurricanes that next year, and I'm like, he's pretty good. I did not expect this from him. Not like a speed guy, not one to give you a bunch of yards after catch. Not that kind of guy, but he's a very talented uh, possession receiver. Like exceptionally talented at that as far as a college football player goes, I believe. So he to me is exactly what the Hurricanes were missing this season. A lot of times CJ Daniels made some really cool highlight plays, but I think that CJ Daniels, what he was missing was the exact type of thing that Isaiah Horton was able to show on TV or on tape quite a bit. So he's 6'4", he's 208 pounds, and he's strong. Like some people, you look at, he plays strong, I should say. Some folks you see they're 200 pounds and they just play weak. They just limp all over the field. As soon as somebody bumps them, they fall down. Isaiah Horton plays the opposite way. And that's why I think he could have really helped us this season. We had Malachi Toney, who was running all over the place, super gadget guy, right? You want to get the ball in space with him. But then I felt like all season we needed a big body who could just play big in different situations. And I felt like a lot of the times when CJ Daniels was called on to do like a 7-yard comeback route, and the corner would get a little too aggressive, and the corner could just bump CJ Daniels off of his route easily. He would always succumb to that pressure consistently. And I felt like we needed Isaiah Horton, not needed. I felt like Isaiah Horton really could have helped us in that situation because I did not see him getting bumped off his spaces as much as CJ Daniels did this year. So that's my thought on him. Now, how did his season go? It went okay. Like, he had 42 receptions. He had 511 yards. But when you look at a guy who is a potential NFL player in the next couple of years, you expect for him to have more receptions than he had. Like, the most receptions he had all season was 5 in a game. And he did that a few different times. But you like to see these people who are going to be an NFL wide receiver in the next couple of years. You like to see them have 7 to 12 receptions in a couple of games, right? Like when you go and look at Jeremiah Smith or you look at Malachi Toney, many games where they have 9, 10, 11, 12 catches in one game. And then you look at Isaiah Horton on here and you look at the yards that he had. He didn't have one 100-yard receptions game the entire season, even against teams like ULM or LSU, who was down this season, or EIU, whoever that is. I don't even know who EIU is, but they beat them 56-0. He didn't even get 100 yards in that game. He had 2 catches for 29 yards. So that, if I was Isaiah Horton or if I was on Isaiah Horton's team, I'd be a little concerned about that. Now, he supposedly went back to Alabama to play with Ty Simpson because they have a relationship, so he wanted to play there. Now that Ty Simpson's gone, Isaiah Horton is also leaving. This time he's going to Texas A&M, so he's chasing another bag, I'm guessing. I don't know. But if I'm looking at the overall grade that I would give Isaiah Horton for deciding to leave the Hurricanes and going to Alabama, I would give him a D. A D. Why would I say a D? He went to a place that was supposed to be a better organization, and it ended up playing far worse than the Hurricanes. The team that we saw Alabama put on the field this year is one of the worst Alabama teams that I've seen in the last 10 to 15 years. One of the worst Alabama teams I've seen in a while. So Isaiah Horton went to Alabama for one season, and the one season that he went to ended up being one of the worst Alabama teams that we've seen in a long, long time. On top of that, if you're going to go to an Alabama team that's down, you at least want to be the one shining star on that team. He wasn't even that. He was probably the 3rd best receiver on their team this year. So that's not good either. Their offense was putrid in a bunch of games. And for him to not even be the best receiver during those games, that's not a good look. So I believe he made himself look pretty bad this season, going to Alabama and not producing like he should have, when if he would have just stayed at Miami, it's obvious where he would have been. It's obvious what position he would have played in, and it's obvious that he would have been a huge contributor in the offense. So I think that he overplayed his hand this season. I think that he was expecting the Hurricanes to have a poor season. And I think that he was going to jump on the bandwagon of Alabama or Georgia, wanting to be one of those kind of guys, and it ended up flipping on him. It was a seesaw for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Hurricanes are down here and Alabama was up here, and then he jumped ship, and then as soon as he jumped, it teetered on him. So it's unfortunate, but that's what happened to Isaiah Horton. I'm still a fan. I just think that he made a poor decision. And again, I don't know what kind of money he made. I don't know any of that stuff. I understand he left for a relationship with one of his quarterbacks. I get that. But I think that, just a football decision overall, bad decision. Next, A.J. Allen. So I was really pulling for A.J. Allen when he was playing for the Hurricanes. It just seems like it's just not in the cards for him. He ended up playing for Nebraska out of high school. He's a 4-star prospect. Now as a transfer, he's a 0-star transfer. It's gone like that for him. He ended up going to FIU, I believe it is. He ended up going to Nebraska. Then he transferred to Miami. Played pretty well at Miami, I thought. Then he ended up going to FIU after that, just for a little while. And then right after, he goes to Tulsa. So he's playing at Tulsa. And if you look at his game, like, he had 97 carries, which isn't a whole bunch, 495 yards, which isn't a bunch, 5 touchdowns, and he had an average of 5.1, which is actually pretty good. The issue that I'm seeing here is he left the Hurricanes because he wasn't the lead back with the Hurricanes. Then he goes to FIU. I don't know what happened there, but he ended up going to Tulsa. And he's at Tulsa, and he's like the second or third string running back for Tulsa. That's a problem. They had one guy on the team who was getting like 20 carries here, 28 carries the next game, 25 carries the next game. So they were using this other guy as a bell cow, and then they would bring in A.J. Allen and this other guy just to spell him every now and again. So he's got one more year. He's in a tough spot, man. He got one more year. This is another guy. It seems like it's just not in the cards for him, y'all. He's in the transfer portal once again. So he's leaving Tulsa to go somewhere else. I'm thinking he needs to go somewhere like Memphis or UConn, somewhere like, somewhere a little, I don't know why the word comes to mind, off-brand, but he needs to go somewhere that's not a like powerhouse, but at the same time, it's not Alabama State. Like, he needs to go somewhere in the middle, somewhere on the bottom level of the top tier schools is what I'm thinking. Go to, let's say, hell, maybe he could even try UCLA because they've been down in the dumps for a while. Do something like that, and I think he could probably get some footing. When he gets an opportunity to play, he plays well. Like, he got 5.1 yards per carry. That's pretty good. 5 touchdowns, 97 carries. So he's doing well when he gets on the field. He's just got to find the right situation. And that's why I give him a C- on his transfer. I don't know if he was one of those people that got kind of pushed out the back door because of the Gucci that was coming in, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if he was one of those kind of guys, but if I'm going to assume that he left on his own accord, I would say that him leaving was a C-. And the reason why is because, like, if I was advising some of these kids that's playing football here, or I should say young men, because they're really not kids, but they can make $1 million a year, right? But if I was advising these young men when they're leaving, when I was growing up, the thing was you want to compete, get into a position where you can compete to be the leading guy. Now, man, we got to get with the times. The times now are totally different. The time is look around and see where I can be a starting running back. I'm sorry. I know as old school as I am, I hate to say it, but that's the way it is, especially when there's money involved. When there's money involved, you got to go to a situation where you can go in there and show your talent from day one. So for him to go to a situation like Tulsa where they already got a leading back, and then they got another guy back there who's probably going to beat you out, That didn't make any sense. He should have looked around at these places that have no running back. Like, go to Duke. Their running back situation was trash. He should have gone to Duke with a really good quarterback and been their running back. Get on the field, showcase what you can do, and then maybe elevate yourself back up to the top. But I just think it was a poor decision to go to FIU and then Tulsa after that. Bad. It just seems like a bad decision, and that's why I'm sticking with a C- on his decision to leave the Hurricanes. All right, next person, Chris Johnson Jr. This was another person that um, hurt a little bit when he left. This one felt a little bit like the Isaiah Horton when he left. Now, when you talk about guys like A.J. Allen, Riley Williams, Jaden Harris, Zaquin Patterson, it's like, okay, cool. I'm not mad at that. Cool. But Horton and Chris Johnson Jr., when they left, I was like, what is going on? Mainly because with Chris Johnson Jr., I saw what he had. I saw the potential that he had. And it reminded me a whole lot of who was the other guy that ended up going? See, this is probably why I need to do these live going forward, because y'all can help me out. I'm trying to think of who it was that ended up leaving and going to SMU and then got drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. You know who I'm talking about. I can't think of his name right now. But it was the exact same situation where he got on the field a little bit his freshman season, made some pretty cool plays. Zaquan, no, what was his name? That's going to drive me crazy. I can't think of his name. But anyway, he ends up making some really good plays his freshman season. And then he gets impatient. That's the best word I honestly that comes to mind is impatient. He gets impatient. He's like, I'm out, y'all. Like, I'm not going to sit around and sit on the bench or just play a few plays here, a few plays there. I'm out. Then he goes to SMU. I don't know if he got paid a lot there. I don't know the situation. I don't know. But he gets there. And after the first few games, I made a video and I was like, they played ETAM, which I'm sure a whole lot of y'all still don't know who that is because I done forgot who it was now. I don't remember who ETAM is. Eastern Texas A&M, maybe? That's crazy if that's what it is. That's crazy. So, played against them, he got 6 carries. Then he played the next week and got 6 carries. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to work out for him because he's not getting as many carries as I expected him to get. 6 carries here, 6 carries there, 6 carries again, 5 carries. I'm like, he's not getting nearly as many touches as I expected him to get, especially since he left the Hurricanes because he wasn't getting on the field enough. He left the Hurricanes because he wasn't getting enough touches. And then he goes to SMU, and I felt like he was going to put on the same type of film that we saw from the other guy who left the Hurricanes and went to play for SMU and ended up getting drafted by the Chiefs. That's what I expected. So when I saw these, like 30 carries over 7 or 8 games, I was like, well, that doesn't look good. And people in the comment section kept saying, just wait. Once we get about halfway through the season, 3/4 through the season, they're going to start getting him ramped up and he's going to get all kinds of touches. I'm going to tell y'all were dead wrong because this same thing, it was a consistent rate the entire season where he would only get like 5, 6, 7, 8 carries the entire game, 10 touches the entire game. And I guess that explains why he's transferred again. And this time he's going to Clemson. So I don't know what he's going to end up doing there, but he's going to be a junior this coming season. He can't use this season as a redshirt season because he played in too many games. So he's going to be a junior. He's only got a couple more years left in eligibility. He had, against California on November 29th. He had 10 carries for 128 yards and a touchdown. He was balling out that game. So we'll see what Clemson does with him. To me, it just seems like he is just incredibly impatient. And I'm just going to tell y'all what I feel, all right? I feel like he's got people around him who's telling him the wrong advice. I think he's getting bad advice from a lot of different people. Instead of being patient and getting to a good situation, getting into a winning situation, it seems like they're in a hurry and they're rushing things, and it's probably going to backfire on him. That's what it's looking like to me. But we shall see. Maybe he will prove me wrong. If you ask me what letter grade I give him for leaving the Hurricanes and going and playing for SMU, I give him a D plus. D plus. Again, because he left one situation where he's playing for the Hurricanes, which is a really good team that went to the national championship. He would have gotten on the field much more this season, but he goes and plays for an SMU team that only gave him 7, 8 touches every game. And they lost, what, 4 games this season. So, yeah, they did beat the Hurricanes. You got to give them credit for that. Like, yeah, they beat the Hurricanes, but they didn't do much else beyond that. So, to me, I would say a D plus. I think it was a poor decision to leave the Hurricanes and go to SMU. I think he probably should have stayed another season with the Hurricanes, see what worked out there. At the same time, I do understand that he had a lot of competition coming in. Pringle's there, Jordan Lyles there, Fletcher's there. Like, he's got a lot of competition in that backfield with the Hurricanes. I understand that. But I do believe if you are there the season prior, then you stay all off season, you work your butt off there, and you come in with that kind of explosiveness that you have. Brashard Smith. Is that it? Brashard Smith? I think that's it. That's what I was thinking about this whole time. If you work your butt off and get as dynamic as Brashard Smith was, I believe he could have gotten on the field quite a bit this year with the Hurricanes. And he might have even been able to get as many touches as they gave him at SMU. So I think it was just a bad decision. I think he's getting some bad advice, and he's rushing things when he needs to be a little bit more patient. Next person is Reese Poffenbarger. This is a guy that I feel terrible for him. Why? It just seems like he was in a good situation where he was playing for Albany, and he wanted to level up. So he looked around and he was like, well, the Hurricanes don't have a quarterback. I'm going to go play for them. And I was pretty excited to get Reese Poffenbarger, to be honest with you, mainly because he had all the athleticism and he threw for a ton of yards while playing for Albany. And I know the competition level is not what it is when you're playing for the Hurricanes, but even though he was throwing against a bunch of people who just are not on that level when he's playing for Albany, he actually showed the ability to win. And that translates everywhere you go. If you can win on one division, just look at what Trinidad did, right? If you can win on one division, you can translate what that style is at other locations. And I felt like that's what Reese Poffenbarger could have potentially brought to the Hurricanes. But then right after he signs, right after he gets to the Hurricanes, what happens? Cam Ward shows up. It ain't no way Reese is going to play in front of Cam Ward. So it wasn't a bonehead decision. It was a good decision. It made logical sense. It's like, oh, I put on some real good tape at Albany. I'm going to go play for the Hurricanes because they don't have a quarterback. I'm going to go beat out those guys they got in the locker room. I can do that. And he gets there, and then Cam Ward shows up, the best quarterback that the Hurricanes have ever had, if you ask me. So he's just stuck in that situation. Then he goes and transfers to North Texas. And what happens there? North Texas just so happens to have probably the best quarterback that they've ever had show up and show out. Like, it's just been like everywhere he goes, he gets somebody else that just jumps in his lap and grabs the steering wheel. And he just got to sit there and wait for the ride to be over. It's a bad situation, it seems. So now, as a prospect at a high school, he's a 3-star. As a transfer, he's a 0-star. Just because he hasn't been on the field, y'all. Like, he had 36 yards the entire season. He was 0 for 2 against LAM, and then he was 5 for 5 against Washington State, which is the fake WSU. The real WSU is Wichita State. Always remember that. My alma mater, Wichita State, is the real WSU. Washington State, fake WSU. But against them, he was 5 for 5 for 36 yards. He also can run the ball, which is part of why I like him so much. But man, now he's going to Akron. So we'll see how that works out. The Akron, let me know if you know what their mascot is. A lot of folks probably don't know what their mascot is. So let me know what their mascot is. And then if you know what the nickname of that mascot is, tell me what that nickname actually means. All right. So there's that. So yeah, Reese Poffenbarger's decision to leave the Hurricanes. What do I give that grade? I give it A B plus, and I'll tell you why. I give it a B plus mainly because he knew he was not going to be able to play for the Hurricanes. He knew that. He looked at what the Hurricanes had coming in and Carson Beck. And he's like, there's no way they're going to let me play here. I'm going to go ahead and get out. So he goes to a lower level school, which makes a ton of sense. He goes to North Texas. Most people who leave the Hurricanes to go and play for North Texas, most of the time they end up starting there. But I think his name was Maker. Is that right? He ends up just showing out at North Texas. Who saw that coming? Nobody saw that coming. So it was just a tough situation, man. I think he did exactly what he should have done. It was logical. There was all kind of logic in his decision making. It just didn't work out for him, unfortunately. So that's my thought on Reese Poffenbarger. Next person, Kobe Young. He's the other person that I saw throwing the U down in the picture at Georgia with Jaden Harris. It just really disappointed me, pissed me off. I think that is so whack, so immature. But anyway, Kobe Young, if you've watched this channel before, if you heard me talk about him before, you know that I've got a lot of love for him because he's 6'3", 215, but he plays even bigger than that. He was with the deep ball, jump ball, back shoulder threat that we had that a lot of the time this season we really needed and we didn't have it. So it felt like if Kobe Young would have stuck around, if Isaiah Horton would have stuck around, we might have looked even better on offense. Even though I think the real reason why we struggled as much as we did was mainly because of our quarterback. But I think those two receivers could have helped us quite a bit. I really believe that. But Kobe Young did not have the greatest season. He had quite a few injuries that just bugged him throughout the season. He ended up with just 20. So this was supposed to be his breakout season for Georgia. They looked at him as their number one receiver this year. Not only did he have a big body, but they said they worked with him on his route running and all this stuff. So he had supposedly developed into this near Megatron type receiver that they expected. And he didn't do anything like that. He had 26 catches the whole season, 358 yards, and 1 touchdown the entire season. So I'm not going to say this was a horrible season for him, but I will say it was pretty poor. The most receptions he had was 7, and that almost doubled what he had in any other game this season. And that was against APSU. I don't know what that school is. Austin P? I don't know what APSU is. So let me know in the comment section if you know what APSU is, but they beat them 28-6. So yeah, man. Georgia just didn't have it. They got to the playoffs. They got their butts wore out in the playoffs. And he had 3 catches for 22 yards. That's it. If you want to get to the NFL, one of the things that you have to do, and you can just ask Josh Jacobs this. Josh Jacobs played for Alabama. He wasn't even a starting running back, but he got into the playoffs. He got right there towards the end of the season, and he started showing stuff on film like, dang, that dude is good. And he got drafted really, really high because of the film he put on tape against the best players in college football. So when you look at what Isaiah Horton did this season, playing against the top competition in college football, and you look at what Kobe Young did this season, playing in the top competition in college football, they both let themselves and their entire teams down. And what I mean by team is I'm not talking about Georgia. I'm not talking about Alabama. I'm talking about their team, like their agent and their mom and their dad and all of those people that's rooting for them and they're just pulling them along on this journey. That's who I mean they let down in this situation. When you play against Mississippi and you get 1 catch for 36 yards and that's it, and then you play them again and you get 3 catches for 22 yards and that's it. You play against Kentucky a few weeks prior, you get 1 catch for 9 yards. That's all you can do. And this is your last year and you're hoping to go to the NFL. That's poor. If you can only get 1 catch for 9 yards in college against Kentucky, who got beat 41-0 to Louisville, dude, what are we talking about? Like, what kind of NFL career are we really talking about? Let's discuss that. So they do have the draft projection live, And right now, he's projected to go undrafted. He's the 35th ranked wide receiver, and he's projected to go undrafted free agent. So we'll see if he ends up getting drafted. I will be not surprised. I will be shocked if he gets drafted. I just don't think he put enough on film. And I think that the decent corners out there just embarrassed him in too many games. And if those corners are going to embarrass you, what are those fools in the NFL going to do to you? Like, Lord have mercy. So the grade that I give Kobe Young as far as his transfer goes, a C minus. I think it was just a poor decision. It's not like the Hurricanes have had, like, when you leave the Hurricanes as a running back, I can understand that because there's only one running back on the field at a time most of the time. And the guys that's in that running back, like they are really, really good. Like Fletcher is really good. Jordan Lyle didn't show it very much this year because he was injured. He is very good. Pringle is very good. Like these players are elite players. But when you look at the Hurricanes receiving core this past season, it wasn't off the charts like that. Like a really good receiver could have come in and taken any of those positions except Malachi Tony's position. So to run away from that competition, I think it's crazy. Especially as a returning player going back into that wide receiver locker room, you should be the leader of the pack in that group. So it doesn't make sense to run from that competition if you ask me. It seemed to me like Kobe Young and Isaiah Horton would have walked into a starting position, especially with folks like JoJo Trader consistently dropping passes and all that stuff that was going on this year. It could have been not easy. It could have been a definite opportunity for either one of those guys to step into a starting role and being like ultra competitive and definitely being productive. So, yeah, definitely not an A or a B for me as far as the decision to leave the Hurricanes. I always call him Jakari because that's how phonetically you would say that, but apparently it's pronounced Jakari. I heard him pronounce it Jakari, so that's what I'm going to say. His mama called him Jakari, so I'm going to call him Jakari. All right? So he ended up going to UCF, and as y'all know, if you've watched his channel, you know that he's one of my favorite Hurricanes players of all time. And a lot of folks would probably ask me, how the hell can he be one of your favorite Hurricanes players of all time if you only play like 5 games with the Hurricanes? The reason why is because I really enjoy and appreciated his personality. I really appreciated his willingness to compete. I really appreciated that stuff. So like at the end of what season was that? It was the season before Cam Ward came and played. No one knew who the Hurricanes quarterback was going to be. And we were getting ready for a bowl game, and then they were like, well, I don't know who's going to play. Like, people transferring out of here. Tyler Van Dyke had a horrible season. What are we going to do? And Jakari Brown was like, well, I'll play. And I just thought that was pretty cool. He ended up playing and transferring to UCF. They're in the Big 12 now, so I expected them to put a quarterback out there that could move his feet. Because, the Big 12, they don't have a bunch of offense out there. They're throwing the ball all over the field. I'm sorry, they don't have a lot of defense out there. They're throwing the ball all over the field in the Big 12. So I figure a quarterback like Jakari Brown go in there and really do some damage. He has not thus far. He's not even playing. So 97 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception on the entire season. 97 yards. So he probably had 120 practices this season. And I haven't ran a mile for the entire year combined probably. And Jakari Brown only had 97 more yards passing than I had all season. That's tough to deal with. But anyway, he played in just 3 games. All of those games were blowouts. The games that he got in, he did not play very well. 2 for 3 one game, 1 for 2 the other game. He used his legs really well in those games. Like he had 5 carries for 106 yards, which is crazy. But, oh man, now he's transferring again from UCF and he's going to Rice to play there. That's a type of school that I think AJ Allen should go to. Something like that. Rice. Um, I'm pulling for Jakari Brown, but it seems like this is pretty much it for him, y'all. Like, he's going to be a senior. He should be able to get this year back if he wants to use it as a red shirt, maybe play 2 more seasons. Um, but he came in as a 4-star prospect. Now he's a 0-star transfer. I don't know what the quarterback situation is like at Rice. I have no idea, but I would like to think that he could probably step in and be their starting quarterback from day one because I have no idea what kind of talent Rice is bringing in. So we'll see. His transfer grade going out of Miami, this one is another incomplete, mainly because I don't think he decided to leave. I think this was one of those situations where the coach brought him in and was like, it's just not going to work for you here, man. If you really want to play football on the field on game day, you need to go somewhere else. I think he probably got one of those conversations, and that's why he ended up getting up out of here. Or getting up out of there, I should say. I'm not in Miami. I'm here in Kansas. But anyway. All right. So the next person we'll talk about is Romelo Brinson. I honestly didn't have he snuck out on me, to be honest with you. He left a couple years ago. He snuck out the back door. He had some pretty cool plays for the Hurricanes. I think he scored a couple touchdowns for the Hurricanes. But he wasn't a big name guy like that for the Hurricanes. So he just kind of snuck out the back door. A lot of folks didn't realize it until he showed up on the scene for SMU and had a pretty good season. People were like, hold on, he used to play for us. That's how I ended up remembering and recognizing who he was and all that stuff. So he had a pretty good season, not a great season, not excellent, but he had a pretty good season. So he was 43 receptions, 638 yards, and 3 touchdowns for an average of 14.8 yards per reception. So he ended up leaving the Hurricanes, going to SMU, playing a couple years there. And I think if I'm going to give him a grade on his transfer, he's the only person that actually get an A from me. Like, I give him a solid A. I think he was in a situation when he left where he probably wasn't going to get a lot of playing time the following year as a receiver. Because that year that Cam Ward was there, that receiving class was nice. Like, if y'all want to compare what they had and you compare that to the season that we just had, I don't think the comparison as far as the receiving core is even close. So I don't believe Romelo Brinson could have gotten on the field and showcased the talent that he has if he would have stayed with the Hurricanes. I don't think he would have. And he was able to get on the field immediately going to SMU. And when he got on the field, we all know that his coach can dial it up. Like, his coach got he can play, he can call some plays. We can all admit to that, right? So a lot of times he ended up wide open because they was drawing up some nice X's and O's. A lot of times he was matched up on somebody who had no business trying to guard him, so he beat him. But 7 receptions for 121 yards, that looks nice. 4 receptions for 126 yards, that looks nice. Played against Miami, had 3 receptions for 67 yards. That looks pretty nice, especially since Miami's defense was as good as it was. So I don't know what his NFL career looks like, but I can tell you that he's also projected as an undrafted free agent. So he's not expected to get drafted, but maybe he'll go on a practice squad. Maybe he'll make a team somewhere. I don't know. I would not hold my breath and say he's going to do any of that stuff, but there's a strong possibility in there. But of all the people who have left the Hurricanes, I think he is the one that has actually made the best decision for his career, Romelo Brinson. All right, so let me know y'all's thoughts on all this stuff, man. People gonna come, people gonna go. It's just part of college football. Unless they change things in the next couple of years, who knows? Who knows what they're gonna end up doing? I don't foresee the NCAA being okay with us going along with this Wild Wild West situation as it is now, where you can just go wherever the highest bidder is and play the next season. I think they'll end up doing something where you have to commit 2 or 3 years to one school. If you go and you transfer, or they'll say something like if you transfer once, that's fine, but the second time you transfer, you got to sit out a year. I think they're going to start doing something like that to slow this Wild Wild West situation down. That's just my thought process on it. Well, anyway, I figured I'd do this video because y'all always seem to love these videos. They always perform really, really well. So figured I'd go ahead and do this, and I just think it's fun to catch up and see how these things are doing. So I'll do another one on the players that just left prior to the start of the spring. I'll probably do one close to like the spring game. If not around the spring game, I'll do one after the second or third game just to give a quick update on some of these players that left. And I'll say, hey, after the first couple games, they've gotten this many snaps, they got this many tackles, they got this many touchdowns. And then I'll do another one mid-season and then one at the end of the season like I did this season. All right. That's all that I got for y'all this time, man. I appreciate you watching the video. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to continue building this thing one like and one subscription at a time. Every like that we get, every subscription we get, it helps me take care of my family even more. So I appreciate that. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, y'all. It's the off season and I cannot believe it. One thing I will say is I'm sure that my partners, my business partners, are happy that the season's over because I'm finally productive in my businesses again. But anyway, that's all that I got for y'all, man. I appreciate the time. Take care. God bless. Peace.